Hello and welcome to my talk, Coaching from the Pitch to the Classroom. My name is Bragoli-Jones and I'm going to share my experience and understanding of sports psychology and learning theory from the pitch to the classroom. I have a love for psychology and I want to share my experience so far. I'm a University of Bath sport and exercise science graduate, a rugby coach and biology teacher. I've always loved sport, especially rugby. I've coached many young people from ranging backgrounds and abilities. I've been teaching for about 2 years now. This year I finished my teacher training. I'm currently the head rugby coach for the women's first team at Bury St Edmunds Rugby Club. Over the last year I've learned a lot and I've tried to use both my teaching and coaching psychology to impact my learners' environment. Why? Because I remember when growing up, coaches and teachers played a big part in what I learned and how I progressed in school and sport. The psychology that these professionals use is a vital part of young people's lives. What has helped my practice as a coach and teacher has not only been within my academics, in coaching and teaching, but through my own experience. I've had to work hard to read further materials and seek advice from others around me, such as psychologists and other more experienced coaches and teachers than myself. These have allowed me to shape and form my ever-changing thinking. Reading books such as Alex Ferguson, Leading, The Inner Game of Tennis, Locker Room Power, Learning Theories, and John Wooden's Pyramid of Success, and many more have helped shape my knowledge today. Being able to test and apply these psychological skills in real life have enabled me to see great changes in students and athletes. So moving on to the myths about coaching and teaching. At the end of this, you'll not be a better coach or teacher. You'll always have to get better and you'll always be learning. And I don't have all the answers at the moment. I am still learning myself. But there is one thing I will promise. You'll have 3 tools that you can use at the end to help you become a better coach and teacher. The objectives. I'm going to introduce you to 3 techniques I've used this year to better my own coaching and teaching. The 3 techniques are the power of questions, coaching philosophy, and using positive psychology to build confidence, and how you can use them. The first technique is the power of questions. I believe that questions are really important in education and sport coaching. For example, why aren't you watching the ball? Are you watching the ball? How would you respond to that? Perhaps defensively. Maybe with, I am watching the ball, coach. A question for you. Do you know of any other ways that I could ask those questions that don't put the players on the back foot, where they may feel they need to answer defensively? Asking questions to elicit problem solving, understanding, and testing knowledge can be very useful while coaching and teaching. Gaining an understanding of where your learners are can be difficult to continuously assess in class and out on the field, unless you have a set of pre-planned questions. Planning to use psychology in coaching and teaching is really important. Planning questions can be a valuable tool. For example, where are, why was, what do you think? Can you show me? How is it similar and different? What would happen if? And if you could do it again, what would you do differently? And why should we? These types of questions can help show understanding, learning, and elicit problem solving. As teachers and coaches, we need to promote proactive, focused thought, attention, and observation. We want to evoke clarity for those that we are coaching, as by doing this we can increase self-motivation and self-belief through improving the learner's competency or their feeling of competency to help those we are coaching learn and grow. An example of this is, if I wasn't there, what would you do? What are the steps? What is the desired outcome? Potentially I'm trying to create a team that when I'm not there, they will know what to do, and creating a team that potentially in the future doesn't even need me. Taking safe, positive risks, either as an individual or as a team, when answering these questions. These safe risks can be conducted in a safe environment where there is positive social support, and that's something we're going to talk about a little bit later. These can be used almost anywhere to help learning and that feeling of competency. So what's the science behind these questions? Bloom's taxonomy from Benjamin Bloom developed a useful tool of question taxonomy based on a 6-level structure where you've got remembering, understanding, applying, analysing, creating, and evaluating. This also links to the self-determination theory, scaffolding questions up to make the participants feel confident when getting answers correct, making them feel competent. I've linked and tried to use parts of Lev Vygotsky's scaffolding theory, the zone of proximal development, where I can build tasks in small bite-sized parts to stretch and build the learners. And finally, Rosenshine's principles of effective instructions. I found this to be useful in planning my questions and delivering, recapping and teaching new material in small parts. It's a really useful tool in planning your instructions and what questions you will be asking. So how can we apply this? What if I asked you these? Which way is the ball spinning as it comes towards you? How high is the ball this time as it comes towards you? Does the ball spin as it comes towards you? How would you securely catch the ball? Can you show me? What would happen if the ball did this? These sorts of questions help develop understanding and are not only subject to being used in sport. The power of questioning to elicit thinking and learning is enormous. Trying our best as role models to build confidence, competency, empower the learner to answer those questions, to increase self-belief and grow our learners is our job. Easing that process of learning through asking the right questions is going to help enhance the learning environment. Moving on to technique 2. The next area I'm going to talk about is my coaching philosophy. Building a coaching philosophy that can help guide you in your behaviour and actions as a coach and teacher can be difficult to grasp and is always going to be challenged either by yourself or others. Research has suggested that having a sound coaching philosophy can be critical in coaching success. It is being said that beliefs held by coaches help them set priorities, guide behaviours, and help build relationships with your learners. 3 areas of my coaching philosophy I'm going to share with you are self-reflection, striving for excellence for myself and others around me, and motivate the belief of making progression through helping the learners develop the tools to thrive in the world, and of course rugby. I've described a few key elements of my philosophy which have been influenced by the humanistic theory and learner-centered approach. How I coach using the elements I've spoken about help guide the values I have and expect from my learners and hopefully they rub off on them as well. Setting out my expectations and values to the learners, I found to be a useful way to connect and build relationships with players and students. But what's the science behind this? The science behind the philosophy links to the hierarchy of needs, where I and the players can all build together using the common values and have a shared belonging. That transfers to improving self-confidence and empowering the learners to be leaders with more autonomy. Through using the self-determination theory, I can help provide autonomy and empower learners to be leaders in their own right. The self-determination theory links with questioning and my key philosophy of self-reflection. That is a big part of what I encourage learners to do in the classroom and out on the pitch. What I've experienced is that self-reflection strategies and motivating belief in progression, making the students feel competent, can not only help improve self-confidence, but also by offering some form of self-regulation to provide a safety net under their self-efficacy while doing a particular task. I found that providing autonomy gives responsibility to learners to set their high goals together as a team and continuous review to ensure they are aiming high for their goals. Again, linking to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the self-determination theory. But how can we apply this? Using your coaching philosophy to help guide your coaching behaviours and help build your team's values, I believe, is very useful. Using the self-reflection for myself regularly, but having the players use it, has value that underpins why I ask the students or players to plan what they are going to do, then actually do that task, then review with positive encouragement led by the players. This whole process is something I like to call plan, do and review, which I found to be really useful. This is where they identify positive areas to work on and a challenge to set themselves when they go back to doing the task again. This process can be done at any time and at any stage within plan, do, review. Using circle time with teams and students to establish what they have achieved, inspiring that belief of progression and how they can improve are just a few examples of applying elements of your philosophy to your practice. I used a teaching philosophy when I was helping lead a 4-week NCS program where you see students go from strength to strength in developing team and interpersonal skills. When the students first came to the program, the students did not work well as a team and had some real behavioural issues. By the time they left the program, those young people had changed substantially. The philosophy that was built at the beginning of the program stemmed from discussions between us as teachers, the outdoor leaders, and the new group of NCS students. This was a really big collaboration effort from us all, and we found it to be really useful. Group values and responsibilities were the reflection of leaders' expectations, behaviours, and what the students' values were. They were all discussed, and a team philosophy was adapted by everyone. This positive philosophy of teamwork, respect, and responsibility for behaviour was to be followed throughout the programme. Over the first 2 weeks, after forming, storming, and norming in their teams, the students learnt that they were to be successful. They could be a successful team with consistent positive behaviours and values. It was amazing to see where students took responsibility for each other and became more collaborative humans by the time they had left. Having your own guidelines that can positively project onto the learners can be a good thing. Using your philosophy that can develop their mental skills and enhance the learning environment is, I believe, the goal. Fundamentally, I think a positive experience can help develop belief in progression and self-confident individuals. Underpinning this is the idea that the environment can meet their needs and individuals believe they can be successful together. I'm going to move on to my final point and technique. Building confidence using positive psychology. Confidence can be a fickle thing, especially to students and sports people. It can take one comment, one missed tackle to crumble your confidence, and in some cases, perhaps it's one big loss in a game, or even a few wrong answers in lesson. It has been said that self-efficacy or self-belief and self-confidence are some of the ultimate qualities to have as an athlete. And from my experience, they do well to help in almost every other part of your life. I know from experience that both self-confidence and self-efficacy can be tough to build up, but very easy to lose. Self-efficacy is the perception of one's ability to overcome obstacles or challenges to perform successfully, whereas sport or general confidence is more of an overall performance expectancy, such as in sport, can I win? I know the people that fill me with confidence. They've given me positive encouragement and supported me to be resilient. And I think resilience is a really important aspect that we can try and build into students and our athletes, especially at the moment. Perhaps you could think of a couple role models or people that have made you more confident and think about how they've developed your confidence. I'm going to go over a few techniques I've used in my coaching and teaching to build confidence. So I'm going to go over those 3 techniques that have helped develop confidence. Positive instruction and verbal persuasion is number 1. Identifying positive behaviours and actions, I believe, can be a great tool to use. Number 2, positive self-talk. Telling the program that runs the computer to be positive, which is your brain, is going to help you self-regulate and potentially be more resilient in your confidence. And number 3, positive social support. This really helps when your teammates are giving positive praise and support while training or in the class. Having a positive team and a positive support structure is how we build a strong team that is confident. I found that the responsibility and buy-in from the team or class is vital for this to work. So what's the science behind this? Using my interpretation of those theories helps how and why I use them. For example, using the self-determination theory, using autonomy, competency, and relatedness in my planning and my practice. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, looking at meeting individuals' needs and building those individuals' needs up from the bottom. Bailey's model of self-confidence, looking more specifically at the sources of confidence of those individuals and vicarious experiences. And finally, Bandura's theory of self-efficacy, looking at verbal persuasion and mastery performance. I think mastery performance is really important, not only in adult rugby, but as well as in youth sport as well. So how can we apply these? These 3 techniques I've encouraged and used throughout my teaching and coaching. Looking at positive instruction and persuasion, I found this to be a great tool. I use it when identifying good skills in rugby. For example, well done Chloe, you've made a good tackle, your hands have wrapped around the legs, your feet are close to the opposition, and you've driven through to make a dominant tackle. I have identified parts of the technique used by the player that are positive. And the idea is that the learner will continue to carry out those aspects, whereas I can identify those other technical aspects of the skill that Chloe didn't action in someone else. For example, well done Chantel, you've made a low tackle below the hips and you put your head in the correct place on the thigh. What I'm doing is not saying, no Chloe, you have done these elements wrong. But what I'm doing is I'm identifying role models that perform the task or elements of the task really well for Chloe to see. I'm giving positive encouragement and instruction so that other players, conscious or subconsciously, can make a mental note of what I'm encouraging. The second one, positive self-talk. Our positive self-talk is like the program in a computer, influencing what it does. If you have a good positive program, then the rest of our system in the computer will be running positively, hopefully. I think it's a great tool to teach everyone, especially learners in the classroom, where confidence and resilience can fluctuate so much. Whether it's a verbal or mental cue, such as, it'll be fine, I've got this, I'll get the next one, I believe to be very powerful and simple skills to teach all learners. And finally, number 3, positive social support. I've tried to encourage and get the teams I'm coaching to buy into positive social support. Whether you're a new or experienced player, receiving a regular pat on the back, a well done, a supportive statement, such as, don't worry, we can get the next ball, has, I believe, been a great way to help bind and create a positive support structure in a team where individuals lead, self-govern, engage in reviewing each other in a positive manner. A great feeling was when I witnessed this happen in the team I was coaching, and again, I've seen it in the classroom. We were in a circle on the pitch while at training, and the players took the lead in saying what went well and what they needed to work towards next, identifying positive points as a team, individual skills, and areas to work towards. This is what I call a gold dust moment. It was awesome to see. They'd done it all by themselves. It was great. Looking at, for example, in the classroom with an NCS example, while leading an NCS program, I was witness to the development of many teams of young people. This is where I saw young people in the classroom encourage each other and create a support system as a team. It was great to witness individuals taking ownership and responsibility to encourage each other. These techniques that I've used and trialled have been predominantly a great success. However, not all have worked to the extent I've liked. This is the human element to coaching and teaching. I've practiced and adapted all these techniques I've talked about today, depending on the environment faced with at the time. So in conclusion, you now know some of the psychology techniques I use in coaching and teaching, such as the power of questions, having a guiding coaching philosophy that influences mental skills, and techniques to build confident people in sport and education. Psychology is a big part of life. Not only my areas of sport and teaching, but can be used in many other areas, such as business. I hope you've enjoyed me sharing my thoughts and experience about using psychology in coaching and teaching. I hope that what I've delivered today has made psychology more accessible. I would love for those that are listening to connect with me. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. We can continue this conversation and our journey in learning. My name is Bragoli-Jones, and thank you for listening.